Okay.
All right.
So it's going to tell us in a second. Okay, we're streaming. We're live. So,
Beautiful.
Woo, so excited.
Excited.
We are so hyped. So Tyler and I just, got on and we've been chatting about what we're going to be bringing to you live. So my name is Lori Bertoni, for those of you guys who don't know who I am. And this is Tyler Charlebois, and he's a fellow relationship coach. And we are going to talk about something pretty controversial today, and that's infidelity and cheating and affairs. And we're going to try to bring it to you in a really sensitive way, but we're also going to bring it to you in a way where we can give you guys the skills and tools immediately so that you can either start to heal past infidelity, so you can learn to trust again, maybe get back into another relationship. Maybe you're still in your relationship and you're trying to reweave, the fabrics, to get back to the business of loving each other. And then, or maybe you're just kind of always worried your partner is going to stray, right? Or maybe you have those insecurities or that feeling of not enoughness that we sometimes have, that we're like not feeling beautiful or sexy enough. And, your partner might be, looking at those beach bums right now and you're like, damn, So thanks so much for being here, Tyler.
Oh, appreciate the invitation.
Yeah. And so we are going to just kind of jump right in, because I think we can really spend a lot of time. We could probably spend all day talking about this topic, and already we were like, let's talk about this, let's share this and whatever else. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Tyler. And
yeah, absolutely. So like she said, my name is Tyler Charlebois, and yes, I'm only 24 years old. I've been so curious, and I've had this overwhelming urge my entire life, and I'm not kidding, since kindergarten, to understand human behavior. I wanted to know why. And it's a bad question to ask sometimes, because the more you ask why, the deeper you get, and you can always get somewhere else. So it's good and bad, but I was asking this my whole life. I got to high school and I started to become the kind of fix-it guy. Like my guy friends would ask me, what can they say to a girl? My girlfriends would ask me, what can I say to a guy? And I seemed to have the answers, but not because I was some hotshot. It was just because I intuitively felt for people. I could kind of feel them out and see where they're coming from. So I was like, well, try this. This is probably what they need. I've always been extremely compassionate and very empathetic to what people are going through. And it made me extremely interested in psychology and really understanding behavior, but not on the surface, like not, oh, people, do this because of that. That's why, let's label them this. No, it's like, well, what's under that? What's driving that behavior or emotion? And the two things that came up for me that blew my mind, that I didn't get angry at or anything, but I was really curious, that was the key emotion, was depression and infidelity. Because I saw that so much around high school. Everybody was depressed. It was like the fad. And then cheating, everyone was just doing it because they're like, oh, well, they won't know. And I'm like, and then I found I did it once, and then I had been cheated on as well. So I was like, okay, I need to find the answers, because that's painful on both sides, whether you're the one who cheated or you're the one who was cheated on, or frankly, if you were the one who was the partner out there, the other, the person was cheating with. It's painful all the way around. So what Lori and I kind of want to do is bring you an understanding of why it happens, what you can do to prevent it, and whether or not you're going to stay in the relationship, just understanding what you have to do to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest thing was just last thing is, I wanted to get into therapy or some kind of coaching or some kind of change work, but I didn't, in my opinion, I didn't like the traditional therapeutic approach. I didn't want to label people, and I also just didn't want to talk. I wanted to really get under what was going on and give them ways that they could go change their life. And so I studied under Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonis, strategic family therapy, human needs psychology, and neuro-linguistic programming. So just a few ways, a few different approaches to really say, what is the whole picture here? I don't want to just get one story. I want to see the whole thing from God's point of view, or like an outside point of view, and see what I can really do.
Yeah, and thank you so much. And I've been watching Tyler from, the shadows, and I'm in his group, and I'm always piping in and sharing my experiences as someone who's been divorced and is remarried, and just, in terms of like how I work with mostly women, but I've worked with men too as well, to really help them understand and their role, your responsibility, your relationship with self at the end of the day is, how do you heal that? How do you improve that so that you can give your best self into your relationships, right? Because at the end of the day, we're always just projecting outwards, and we really need to take some responsibility for our own happiness. And it's difficult sometimes when you're in a relationship, and this goes down in deep. This is the unconscious stuff. And when Tyler mentions NLP, that's the kind of coach I am too. So we are talking about deep patterns of our programming that, you know, we're taught as children as to what relationships have to be and have to look like. And last week I did a fantastic video, in my opinion, about making your own rules for your marriage and your relationships, and that it has to work for you, and that I'm not a traditional relationship marriage person because I got a divorce, right? Like, so because I got a divorce,
you know what?
that took me out of traditional marriages. And so what I wanted to really bring to people is that, and this is where I love Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and everybody, is because
the red table,
right? Is because they're coming forward in talking to people about how to make their marriage work for them, right? And so sometimes, and this is, I don't know if it's a millennial thing, as they're more open, as your generation, I think, is a little bit more open, a little bit more aware. They're a little bit more daring to try and bring new things, right? Like, you know, I'm a little bit more older than you, right? So I'm 45. So I have, you know, a different generation of relationship where we're like, it has to be very fixed and it has to be this way. And we're here to share, you know what, we're going to give you some great tips and tools so that you can do whatever is right for you in your relationship without judgment, without saying this is cheating's right, cheating's wrong. Like, we're not saying go out and cheat and have your needs met and screw your partner or not screw your partner. But at the end of the day, we want you to find what is missing within you that you can then communicate with your partner, or start to communicate with your partner in ways that you can start to open up and have those conversations. And what's missing, what do you need? Like, you know, and I think that that's when we start to see a separation in relationships, when as you begin to become more intimate with your partner. And this is where we get into sometimes the fear of rejections and the fear of not being enough, because as you're with the same person for longer periods of time, that's it. Like, like if you're in a committed monogamous relationship, they're it.
Yeah. And you know, the one thing I want to say real quick is that we're going to explain this to you guys in a way that, obviously, her being a woman, me being a man, we have different ways of seeing it, but we're in the same field. So you'll have both of those approaches, but we want to do it in a way where it's not watered down, but essentially broken down in a way where you guys can understand it. No psychological jargon, nothing like super complex. But even to say that, this is going to sound contradictory, but I do want to set a frame here, which is this: the events that happened in our life, from a paper cut to someone lying to us, to someone cheating on us, to anything, any event that happens in our life, it's not the event that controls our life. It's what we decide to make of the event. And I know it sounds all positive thinking, but it's really not that. We all have total control of our experience of life. It's not the event. It's what are we going to make of that event? Because, you know, to give a metaphorical example, you and I, whoever's watching this right now, yourself and I, could get into an accident, in a car accident, side by side. I could get out, you could get out, and I could be freaking out, being, oh my God, panic, I don't know what to do, just overwhelmed. And you could be, your first thought could be, okay, who needs help? Is everybody okay? You could be on it, right? So the same exact stimulus or event, right? Let's keep this in simple terms. Sorry, I almost broke my own rule, stimulus. The same event happened, but we're reacting very differently. It's because the inside world is different between us, but we have control over that. So we're going to break it down very simple, but we'll explain it in a way where you can actually take tangible tools to go make your marriage better in different places. Now, some of you aren't going to have been through infidelity, or you're not going through that per se, but the same principles will still apply for whatever you're going through in your marriage currently.
And how about we be proactive about that? Because relationships really, at the end of the day, is all about making sure you're not taking your partner for granted because they're there and they're not going anywhere because you're married. Like, who says that? And then that you're not also feeling like you're being taken granted for, whatever, right? Like
taken for granted,
that you're not being taken for granted either, because, you know, we all have, you know, we're all enough. We're all more than enough. And, you know, sometimes, you know, our partners, it's more of a give and take. Sometimes a person may have a bigger cup to fill than, you know, you have a big, you know, it all depends. It's all a give and take. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you're knowing what you need to fill for yourself so that you can give to your partner, and vice versa, right? Because we don't want people to push their partners away or feel like, you know, they can't communicate with their partners to meet their needs, right? And you know,
We're gonna
infidelity,
make this so easy for you guys today too. We're gonna give you an actual.
infidelity
Yeah.
isn't just about the physical act of sex. There's emotions involved, there's mindsets involved, there's so many layers to infidelity, right? And you know, and every part of it matters. So, you know, do you want to start with the masculine, feminine?
Yeah,
Let's start with
absolutely.
that.
So sure. So one of the most controversial things, this whole thing is going to be controversial, but one of the most controversial things is in our culture today, we've tried to make it so that we're all the same. We're not the same. Physiologically and psychologically, we are not the same. Yes, we're all human beings, but just like that John Gray, is that his name?
I'm just gonna say, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So true.
So just like that book, it's a metaphor for essentially we literally operate differently. And it's, you know, one of those jokes I say all the time is like, you know, if a man says he's not available on Saturday, you don't have to go to your friends and go, what do you think he means? Like, what do you think he really wants? What do you think he really means? Is he seeing someone else? It's like, no, if a man says not available on Saturday, he means I'm not available on Saturday. Now, if a woman says it, you might have a different thing to go through, right? Or if a man says, you know, I need to talk to you about something, you know, it's going to be a brief discussion that has a point. And don't get offended, women, by the way, we're going to explain this fully in depth. But if a woman says we need to talk, every man who's watching this, including anyone who, you know, who's going to watch it on mine, a lot of men, they know exactly what I'm talking about. If a woman says we need to talk, you're going on a fucking roller coaster, pardon my French. But you are. We all know that. We go, oh my God. So what I want to talk about masculine and feminine, kind of putting jokes aside, yet it was real, is that we have different ways of communicating. And one of those is for a masculine force. Now, I want to just say this real quick. Just because you're a man does not mean masculine is your center of gravity. Some people have some men, have a feminine core. They truly are born with a feminine core. Some women born with a masculine. So it's not about that. It's just knowing what yours is and living it and nurturing it. But
we have both. And we have both. And we need to learn how to ebb and flow between the two.
Totally.
But obviously, a woman has more of a feminine naturally. Males have more of a masculine naturally, right?
And so absolutely. And so in any masculine being, whenever somebody's talking, whether it's a man talking to them or a woman talking to them, doesn't matter. We literally filter through two questions all the time. Now, we're not going to explain this whole thing, but it goes all the way back to the hunter and gatherer thing, where if you're talking to someone who's masculine, they literally have two questions that they're filtering everything through, and they don't even know that they're usually asking it, which is, what's the point? If we can't find a point, we psychologically have a very hard time focusing for more than like 10 minutes. Actually, it's very difficult because we're looking for a point and we're getting so confused. And that leads us to the second problem, which is the second question we have. If we can't find a point, the second question is, how can I fix it? Because we want to know what the point is so we can help you fix it. Because, you know, a lot of women don't understand. And guys, I want you to genuinely understand this, is that men genuinely only want to make you happy. Like, if we take you to a movie and you like the movie,
that's a deep programming thing too, right? Like happy wife, happy life, right?
It's so true. And that's all we honestly want to do. Like if we take you to a movie and you love the movie, we claim victory. It had nothing to do with us, but we claim victory. We go, I wrote the movie, I directed the movie, she's happy because I took her to the right movie. If you guys don't like the movie, I do this all the time. If my girl doesn't like the movie, I'm not with anyone right now, but anytime I have been, if she doesn't like the movie, we go, why the fuck did I take her to the wrong movie? Oh, why did I pick such a stupid, and we beat ourselves up because you're not happy. That is such the truth. But one of the things we need to understand, and we're going to kind of go from this into how infidelity works, but I'll just kind of go a little bit into that, and then she'll ask me a question about that. But one of the things I want to say to transition into that is that when we first get into a relationship, we are putting on our full best. We're in our highest state. We're feeling great. We're putting on all the makeup. We're smelling great. We're looking great. We're presenting great. We're in a high emotional state, whatever. And then when we start to get comfortable 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years in, we slowly kind of get comfortable and we start going inwards. And the question kind of becomes, well, what am I getting? Right? And we start to not focus on lighting them up. We start focusing on ourselves. But what I want to say about
that's the end of the honeymoon period, right?
Yes, which by the way, I'm not a fan of that term, but absolutely in cultural
Yeah.
terms, yes.
But
Because
this
the
is because
honeymoon,
we're meeting all their needs at once,
yeah,
right?
you know,
That's what that term means,
you're
right?
doing everything for them. You know, the things that we like in the beginning, you know, we go, oh, that thing's kind of cute, or that's kind of silly, or that's kind of hot. You know, 2 months, 2 years in, we're like, you know, why do they keep doing that? God damn it, will you stop doing that? And we start to dislike it. But the reason is because we're not owning that part in ourselves,
Right.
right? It's not, we're not
Yes.
even actually mad at them. We're uncomfortable with the fact that we've made that thing, that behavior, that emotion, that thing wrong within ourselves. So we make it wrong with ourselves and we project it. We make it about them, but it's about the inner world.
Yeah.
Go
And,
ahead.
about making that part of the inner world is that as we start to get comfortable in our relationships, that's where we're starting to deepen the intimacy. That's when we want to start to take things to the next level. We want to start
Yeah.
talking about commitment. We want to start, and if there's not a commitment, then you're stuck. And so if you're already in a committed long-term relationship and the intimacy is not there, it's obviously faltered off, then we have to, this is where the relationship with self starts to deepen, because we want to start asking ourselves the deeper questions like, why am I not, why am I denying myself pleasure? Why am I saying no to sex? Why am I pushing him away? Why am I not liking how he, is approaching me, or
Yeah.
he's not liking how I'm approaching him? And this is where the rejection starts to come into play in relationships, right? And Tyler was talking earlier about that we have these universal needs,
Yes.
right?
And yeah, you want
Yeah,
me to
so
bring those up? Okay.
let's do that.
So this is probably one of my favorite things, because when we can really understand these. Now, when I first explain these to people, I don't go very far in depth because they go way deep. But when I start to understand, explain them to people, and you guys as well, you're probably going to do this as well. When I say this, I say they're needs. They're not desires. They're not wants. They're not, these hopes and dreams. They're biological needs. We have to meet these needs. Most people hear that though, and they go, okay, so they want these needs. No, 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 no. They need them, but it'll take some time to really understand that, because this is about to get controversial, and I love it. Oh, let's go there. So we have these universal needs. It doesn't matter your sex, your sexual preference. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your background, education, language. It doesn't matter. If you're a human being, we all have the same 6 needs. Now, I'll explain them very briefly, but what I want to say first of all is we all have different ways of meeting these needs. Like we all have different vehicles, or different rules. I'm saying that because it's the easiest way to explain it, right? We have our work that'll meet these needs. We have our spouse, we have our kids, like different vehicles. That's what vehicles are, different ways to meet these needs. But what the needs are, the first need that we have is for certainty. Now, certainty just means essentially to feel comfortable, to feel stable in our environment, to kind of have some amount of predictability of what's going to happen next. Because could you imagine if you didn't think that wherever you guys are, if you did not have certainty at a level 10 that the roof was going to hold up, you probably wouldn't be able to listen to me right now, right? We've all had experiences where, our health or someone else that we love, their health, goes down, or we don't know if they're going to make it to the next day, or maybe your spouse is cheating on you, or just anything that's riveting, and we lose that certainty. It goes down to, like, say on a scale from 1 to 10, goes down to 0. You cannot focus on anything else except that thing, right? So we need certainty. It's a survival instinct. But at the same time, if you knew what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, where it was going to happen, how it was going to happen, with who it was going to happen, day after day after day, we'd like that for a while, wouldn't we? It'd be fun. But after a while, what would you start to feel? Bored out of your mind. So the second need, because God in her infinite wisdom gave us a second human need, and that is for uncertainty, right? Uncertainty just means need for variety, the need for stimulation, the need for the unknown, because without the unknown, we feel dead inside, right? And so we need problems, we need stimulation to keep us just going in our day.
Like a
very
surprise,
often,
right?
100%. And I ask people whenever I'm doing events, or just doing working with clients, I say, do you like surprises? And they go, yes. And I'm like, bullshit. You like the surprises you want, because the surprises we don't want, we call problems, but we need them, right? And people often ask, well, I don't want uncertainty, I want certainty. Or I don't want certainty, I don't want to be bored, I want uncertainty. And I'm like, no, you need both. This is what I'm saying, we need them. And they go, well, aren't they contradicting? Yes. Now, this is where the game of life needs so much balance and understanding. And we'll relate this to you and your partner in a second. But have you ever, back in the old days, and yes, even I, 24 years old, am old enough to remember this, you ever go to the store and you rent a movie that you've already seen, right? We do that. Why? because we're certain that it'll be good, but we're hoping it's been long enough that there'll be some variety so we get to meet both needs, right? So there we have those two needs that are contradicting, but we need them both. The third one is the need for significance. Now, who needs significance? Every single one of us. The way we get it is going to be different amongst everybody. But what does it mean, right? It means to feel unique, to feel special, to feel wanted, to feel needed, to feel like we mean something, right? We matter. Now, when we're meeting this in our spouse, it's extremely important, but it can also be very difficult, because if we're feeling low and we back away, they're going to feel that. And if they're feeling low, like if they're in a low state, you both need to feel significant. It's really difficult, but you have to find a way to get out of yourself and help them meet their need for significance. Because if you do, they'll reciprocate. They will. And if they don't right away, it'll take some time. But if you persist, they will do it. You wanted to say something real quick?
I just want to plug in the 5 love languages here. So,
sure. Oh, I was just gonna say 2 seconds. Yes. Yeah. So we're going right there. Good. You can explain that. I'm just gonna give a different version, but you can definitely.
No, go for it. I just want to plug it to be like, if you want to know how to make your person feel significant, do the 5 love languages.
Right. Perfect. Okay. And that so what she's gonna explain there is gonna come perfect next. So the thing is, just like certainty and uncertainty, right? We need that balance. If we overfavor the need for significance, like if we want to be totally unique, right? The problem with that is it separates us from other people, which violates our 4th human need. And she'll explain deeper on how you can do this, but I'll give a little overview. The 4th need is our most dire one, which is for connection and love. And that one's pretty self-explanatory. But, a lot of people, because love is a very scary thing, right? And I'm not saying that jokingly. It's a very scary thing. It takes a lot of immense courage. So sometimes, when we've been hurt, we don't want to give too much love. So we'll set up for connection. But then the problem is, because it's not very fulfilling, we never got to experience the juice in your relationship. But go ahead. You can explain those love languages, because that fits in right there.
Yeah, because you know what, and it's funny that they're separate in terms of like making someone feel significant, and then the need for, what was it, love and connection, right? In terms of like, that's a separation. But I guess like, you don't even have to have a relationship to feel significant, in your family or by, your children, your siblings, right? Like there's an importance there to feel significant too, for sure. But
real quick, I was just going to say the reason why that most people try to go for significance because it taps into our deepest fear. We all have 2 universal fears, just like these needs are universal. These fears are universal as well. And I'll give like a 4-second background on this site. You can get into the love languages. I don't want to take up all the time here, but we all have the number one fear is to be enough. We all feel at some level we're not going to be enough, pretty enough, sexy enough, smart enough, just good enough in some way. And
good enough cook, good enough cleaner, good enough mother.
Enough, right? We've all experienced the feeling of not being enough, and we freak out when we don't feel like we're enough. That's where anger comes. That's where all these different emotions come, where we get scared when our partner freaks out. No. They're just crying for help, but I'm not going to go too far on that. So that's our first need. But the reason we want to feel like we're enough is so that we can feel like we deserve love. So so it's that biggest fear. So we usually go for significance, but love is what we're really after. Go ahead.
And love is really the foundation of everything. And our love for anybody else is going to stem from our love with ourselves first. So the 5 love languages is just one simple tool that you can do to just learn your own love language, even if you're single, because to know thyself, Socrates said it best. If you want to have a great relationship with other people, you need to know yourself best first. So knowing who you are, what you tick, your personality styles, like learn all those things about yourself so that you're not surprised or disappointed by other people's lack of, meeting you where you need to be, right? And so the love languages are, there's quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, gift giving, and acts of service. And so we're all a little bit of them, but we all have a primary love language that I think that is really what you need. It's like breathing. It's like food. It's like, this is how you want your partner to love you. And it's different for everybody. It's really nice when you can find a partner who has the same love language as you. Like, I think those are
give it in the way that you want to receive it.
Those are the couples that, are married forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But that's not always the case, although it's not always the case, although it's really nice when you, for varieties and for, you know, to keep things on your toes when you're two different love languages and you have to go out of your way. It really is stepping out of your comfort zone to meet the person in their love language. And, you know, my husband is quality time. And like, you know, I'm not. So, and I'm words of affirmation. And sometimes, you know, I'll in the beginning, he always used to be like, "Good morning, beautiful," when we didn't live together, right? Like that was one way he satisfied my
trying to
love language, right?
Reel you in.
And so, but as you know, we got married and, you know, whatever else, not to say that I didn't need that words of affirmation. It just, I knew his love language was quality time. And so when I could see him loving me in that way, it really felt so genuine, right? It felt so genuine from him to be like, to crawl up next to me on the couch when I'm watching, you know, one of my, you know, movies and he loves that. He'll watch any movie with me just so that he can hang with me on the couch. He's the best that way, right?
Yeah.
But the funniest thing is that I went away, and while I was away, I got a text in the morning that was like, "Good morning, beautiful." And it just blew me up inside. So I was like, even though I was like, I still needed that. And I was like, well, good for you to finally remember, right? Like I gave him those, you know, that little, you know, like strip off him because I was like, yeah, you have forgotten. And he only remembered because I wasn't with him.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, no, absolutely. And that actually brings up something I want to explain these last two needs, but you just reminded me of something super utterly important that I really need everybody to understand here, including myself and you. Like we all do this at times and mess up, but I want to just remind us so we get a better idea of, oh, right, that's what I need to do. So real quick, the last two needs. So the first four, we're meeting no matter what. We're meeting them in ourselves. We're meeting them from our spouse. We're meeting them no matter what, even if we have to lie to ourselves or hurt somebody, or if we have to work 70 hours a day, which is logical. But the last two needs are the only needs that will allow us to feel truly fulfilled. And so I believe that the first four are survival needs because you have to meet them, whether you're, you know, I use very drastic examples. So I know you guys are going to be like, what the fuck, aren't we talking about cheating and stuff here? Yes, but I give drastic examples to just put a picture in your mind of how powerful needs are. Whether you hurt somebody or you are the person driving the plane on 9/11, or you're a Mother Teresa or a Tony Robbins or just anyone beautiful who we look up to, no matter who you are, you're meeting the first four needs. You have to survive. The last two needs, though, are the only ones that'll really make you fulfilled. And that is, the fifth one is to grow. We all need to feel like we're growing in some way, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, with our spouse, right? Everything in the universe either grows or dies. And that's not all woo, woo, woo. I mean, literally, right? If your bank account's not going up, it's probably going down. Like there's no between there. It's not going to be stable. And if it is, it's only because it goes down and then you fill it back up. Like it's only going up and down. It's never stable. Your relationship is the same way, right? Your relationship is either building or there's no plateau, or it's going down.
Yeah, you're either maintaining or you're losing. And maintaining is working because like your body, if you're not constantly exercising, you're degenerating. You're losing strength every single day, right?
And so even to use that metaphor is like you could work out a little bit, but you'll maintain what you have. But that's not going to really do much. You either need to grow it, meaning go past what you believe is comfortable, or you're going to lose the muscle. So in a relationship, there's no plateau. It's either you're growing and getting better as a couple, or your relationship is disintegrating. But the reason that we grow, the reason that everything in the world grows is so that it can do the sixth need, which is to give. We all have the need to contribute beyond ourselves because we've all done something. Everybody watching this, we've all done something where, you know, we did the right thing, or we gave beyond ourselves. We didn't need recognition. We didn't need stars on our chart. It stayed with us because it felt good. You know, we can make ourselves feel significant by, you know, tearing somebody down, or, you know, making ourselves, you know, having an idea, or being the best parent, or, you know, being the best spouse, or whatever it may be, going to work and, you know, dominating your industry, whatever it may be. You can do that by yourself, but it doesn't stay with you the same way as growing and contributing does. Now, to understand these six needs a little bit better in terms of the spouses, like in terms of relationship, this is where shit is going to get a little fun, but bear with me because I always hear people go, I gave him or her everything. And I go, everything except what they needed. because I had to realize this too. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I cheated on my girlfriend a while ago too. A few years back before I knew this stuff. This is actually one of the things that made me really need to understand this. I was like, what am I doing? Why did I even do that? But going back to it, people say, I gave him or her everything. And I say that back to them. And the reason is because we gave them everything except knowing what are these 6 needs they really need met. I've never had anybody come to me working with couples. I've never had anyone come to me where they go, what? I feel so certainty. I feel so certain that we're solid, that we'll always have each other's back. He or she will be there for me no matter what, and I'll always be there for them too. I know that for sure. There's always, I never know what's going to happen. It's always different. I never know what he or she's going to do. It's so exciting. It's so juicy. And you know what? I know I am the most important thing to him or her. It's not work. It's not the girlfriends. It's not the gym. It's not the children. It is me. And they're the same for me. I know we're the most important things. I know that they're absolutely in love with me, and I'm absolutely in love with them too. And you know what? We're always growing and we're always contributing to each other. And you know what? I'm just going to leave. It doesn't happen when we're meeting each other's needs. And people
Right?
say, oh, people always often I have
I'm out.
because, yeah, every one of my needs are met. I'm out. No, you know what? When somebody's being cheated on, their needs are not being met, and you go, well, I don't know what else to do. I'm doing everything. If you genuinely, and I know, I'll calm down for a second, because I understand somebody watching this who is going through this. It's very hard, and I don't want you to put that wall up because you think I'm an asshole. I get it, but we're just having fun here. If you genuinely look at those 6 needs and say, okay, let me step out of this for a second and see, where have I maybe not been meeting his or her need for, and you go through them. Say and measure them on a scale of 1 to 10. It's very simple. You know what? How certain am I? How certain am I making them feel that I'll never leave? Okay, 7 or 8. Great. How much variety am I giving them? How much surprise and stimulation and fun am I giving them in the way they need it? Oh, maybe you have 2 or 3. Oh, shit. Go through them. You'll see a big difference in where you can grow. Here's the thing, though. When somebody is cheating, it's not just you that's unhappy. They're unhappy too. Both people are unhappy. So I'm not defending the guy or the girl for cheating. I'm explaining why this stuff happens. I had a woman come to me a couple years
Tyler,
ago.
let me just share a little perspective from my point of view and from my own personal experience as to why this is important that Tyler is bringing up to this right now, in terms of because we're quick to point fingers at the other person always, right? Yeah. And this is what we want to share with you guys in terms of taking responsibility, because if you don't
responsibility,
responsibility, like, it's not your fault if he cheats, because of course, obviously he should, or she should have came to you and said, look, these are the things I'm not happy with, or I'm not receiving, that I really need in order. He or she is not there in their communication skills and abilities. They, in a perfect world, they would have came to you and said, I'm missing this. This is what I want from you. But they didn't. And so they went and got it somewhere else. No one's saying that, right? We're just saying that they didn't get their needs met. And the reason why you have to look yourself in the mirror right now is because I've been divorced and I've been remarried. And so when the same issues in my current marriage come up that were in my first marriage, and where I used to point the finger at my ex all the time, and now I'm like, oh, this is my shit. This is my issues. These are my things that I need to work on, to grow on, in order for me to break the patterns and break the cycles. Because what you don't heal from a divorce or a failed, or you never really fail at anything, or a relationship that didn't work, right? Because there's lessons. What you didn't heal, or the lessons you didn't gain from a relationship that didn't work, you will repeat again. You will attract the same person, because
it'll develop the beliefs in your head.
Right.
We're going to generalize men or women are a cheater, or when XYZ happens, men react in this way, and that's a generalization when it's not true. It's just what happened there. But we generalize to try and feel safe. It's that need for certainty. But the one thing, what I was saying there too, and she makes a great point, is one thing I wanted to say is, like, I had this woman a couple of years ago come to me, and she said, you know what, like, she was actually the one cheating in this instant, and it's like she hated herself for it, because she's known, in her friend group, in her family group, at work, whatever, she's known as an extremely honest person, a very loyal person, a very powerful woman in, like, her community and stuff. And she came to me and told me in private that she was cheating on her husband for some time. And when I kind of went over these needs, I realized, what, she felt totally certain that her husband loved her, absolutely certain that he loved her. But when I went over variety, the need for stimulation, the unknown, that surprise, that fun, and the need for significance, it wasn't there. But I was like, well, how much does the other guy make you feel significant? She's like, oh my God, he wants me. I feel needed by him, and I never know what's going to happen. It's so exciting. And I said, oh, well, how certain, this need for certainty, how certain are you, do you feel that he loves you? And she goes, well, I don't really feel like he loves me. And so a lot of you would go, well, why wouldn't she just leave him, or her husband, to be with this other man? Because that man doesn't fill up all of her needs either. This is the biggest thing I have to get you guys to understand.
This is why there's polygamy.
No. This is, you know what?
I mean, you have all these needs, right? It's extensive, but this is how we are. We're complex.
And I want people to understand that they can have all of these needs met beyond their wildest dreams in their marriage, even if there's been an affair. The tools and strategies and ways to do it, we'll get into it soon or another time, but I want you to understand it is possible. That's why, we're in this we're in this industry. If we didn't believe that's possible, wouldn't really be doing this. But the thing is, every single human being on this earth, I don't care your age or gender or your way you were raised, we will all violate our highest values in order to meet our needs.
I've seen it. I've seen it in I've seen it in the most, in a judgmental way, right? Because we all have different values, right? Everybody has values. Everybody has, morals and ethics and everything else like that. And it's like, everybody has this spectrum of morality, right? But when your needs are not being met, like if you have no food, you're gonna steal. Like you're gonna find a way to fill your belly,
because you
right?
have
Like
to.
You're just gonna, no matter how wrong it is. Like,
and here's the thing:
there's not a jails filled with criminals for no reason, like. Right?
Yeah,
like,
and you know what? And see, here's the thing, because I want to bring this a little bit back a couple steps here. I want everyone to understand we're not endorsing or supporting, cheating or violence or nothing like that. But
no.
In order to influence somebody or a culture or human beings or your spouse, husband, wife, kids, we need to understand them, because we can't influence it, we can't influence people when we're judging them. And here's the thing. I always ask people, I say, who here considers themselves to be an honest person? And everybody goes, me, right? When I'm talking to a whole room or a client, whatever, or even my family, because I love to do this. It's so much fun. People are like, I wouldn't cheat, or I wouldn't do this. And I go, well, who here considers themselves an honest person? And including me, we all go, me.
Mm-hmm.
So who here's ever lied in their life? And they go,
me.
And so
but they don't do that.
It's a very simple but universal way of showing you that's a value that will violate. And the reason I say this is because think about any time that you've ever lied in your life, right? Think about a time you lied and remember, why did I lie in that moment? Maybe you lied to your kids. Maybe you lied to your parents, maybe your spouse, maybe your boss. Just you lied to somebody, but why in that moment? I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, you were afraid that if you didn't, if you told them the truth, you would lose that person's love, their respect. You'd feel they don't know, they just wouldn't understand what I was
doing.
You
would hurt them, or you would hurt them.
So it's you're
sometimes
lying.
We don't want to hurt people either, right?
And you know what? So honesty, loyalty, family, all those different things could be your highest values. But in the moment you did that stupid thing, you lied to them because you feel like, I need to still feel certain that they'll love me, or certain that I'm still enough as a person. And here's the thing, guys, even if you're the one who cheated, you're still enough. There's a reason that you did it. And I'm not even supporting your behavior. I've done it too. And I beat myself up before too for doing that. But we have to understand people and our spouse and ourselves in order to get forward.
Mm-hmm. You know what? And I love that, we're in terms of like how we're explaining on extremes, like this is because this is where this is the deep work of looking yourself in the face and getting out of denial in terms of, what you'd be willing to do, or what someone else is willing to do to another human being to have those basic needs met. And this is the important thing, and looking at yourself. And then this is where you do the inner work too. It's like, do you have, it's up to you and your values, whether or not you want to forgive that person, whether you want to trust that you can trust that person again. Like that takes, a certain set of personal growth. And we were talking about this before, is that whether infidelity happens in your relationship or not, it doesn't even have to be cheating, whether or not you leave your spouse or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Like mistrust, whatever. One of those needs not being met consistently over a long period of time, or all of those needs. It's at the end of the day, whether you stay or whether you go, you need to do the personal work and the personal development. You're going to have to work to get back to the business of loving each other. If you have to stay, you're gonna have to figure out what each other's needs are. And so you could be like, well, that's a lot of work. Yes, relationships require constant growth and nurturing and, meeting their needs and filling their cups. And that's what you guys are doing. And this is what I was saying before about, you're in a long-term relationship. If you signed up for a monogamous relationship, you're aside from yourself, that person is the only other person that you're supposed to allow to give you that pleasure, that satisfaction, those needs, all those things, right? And so it's up to you where your relationship needs to go in terms of like being an open relationship, bringing other people into the relationship. And we talked about this, a lot. And as I've matured and as I've learned all the different lifestyles that are out there that people are living, I don't judge them. I'm like, at the end of the day, are you happy?
Yeah.
Can you look at yourself, right? And be like, yes, I'm doing everything that I can do to make myself happy, my partner happy, my children happy. And if you're not, then, you need to find different tools.
And understand. One of the biggest things, one of the reasons I wanted to work in relationships so much, the marriage and the whole family structure, is understanding that the reason why most people are avoid this area a little bit, whether the women go more to their children, the men go more to work. Let's step aside even for a second of even cheating, just not going to their relationship as much, not putting as much focus there, is because relationship is the one area of life that we have the least control, which means it knocks on the door of our deepest fear of not being enough. Because, oh my God, I want to feel certain that I'm enough. And now I have to make another person feel certain that they're enough. That's a lot of stuff to hang on to. That's a lot of stuff to deal with. And the thing is I genuinely want to make the women here feel more understood, because I know I've kind of backed up the behavior of their man a lot here. But I want to give you guys a sense that I'm really on your side here. I want to explain it. This is actually about the men understanding you as well. Yes, they go off and cheat it, and I don't support that. But again, we need to understand it in order to be able to influence it. But on the part of them understanding you, if there's any men watching, I was once speaking in a room with what was it? I think 1,000 people or something, but it was approximately 50-50, men and women. And I asked the crowd, I said, women, and I said, men, listen, women, raise your hand if in the last month, okay? And I said, just be totally honest, only women answer. I said, raise your hand if within the last month you've had an experience where maybe you were walking out to your car, maybe you're walking at night, maybe you were just wherever you were, and you had a moment of actual fear for your life, for your safety, right? 90% of the women, so say 500%, 500 of the room was women. So about 90% of that part of the room raised their hand. That's something men never experience. I said, okay, in the last week, how many women have had that fear? And it went down to about 20%, so it was a little less, but still. And then I said, okay, great. Now men, in the last month, how many of you have experienced that, gut level fear? I hope the internet connection just went unstable. I hope everyone's still.
No, you're still good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I asked them, I said, men, raise your hand if any of you have had that gut level fear within the last month. And 4 people raised their hand, literally 4 people, 90% of the women, 4 of the men, and it was split about 50-50. So what I want the men also to understand too is, if they're not present with you guys, they could be, you could go to them and, tell them your story, tell them how your day was. But because you guys talk often, not all the time, but often more than men, and men have those 2 questions. They're, what's the point and how can I fix it? And if they can't find it, no word of a lie, within 10, 15 minutes tops, they have a very hard time focusing still. So then when they lose their presence a little bit, and you can tell that they kind of go inside their head, you feel misunderstood, and this will create a bit of a block. and you will begin to stop trusting him a little bit. And if that builds, you stop trusting him a lot, and he doesn't understand where that's coming from. So when you put up the wall, and I have no judgment towards why you're doing it. There's a biological reason for that. So I don't blame you guys for doing that. But when you do, he feels that, doesn't know where the F it's coming from. And he's like, well, I can't friggin' win here. I got to go over here. But this is why we need to understand the difference between men and women. It is so important. Our culture's like,
Yes.
oh, we're all the same. And it drives me crazy. We are not the same. Yes, we're all people, but we have
what? And you know what's fantastic about that? And you know what? I think this is a perfect time to drive it home with these points that you got and I got from that fantastic comeback challenge from Tony Robbins this week. Did you do that?
I didn't have time, but I know
it was a lot. I know. Anyways, the relationship one is here, men and women. I'm going to give you 3 questions that you can ask yourself and your spouse in terms of. You want to do the
women and I'll do the men?
Okay.
Because I think I know where you're going with this.
With the unseen.
Yep.
Okay. Good. All right. So women. So do you want to do the men? Okay, do the men then first.
Okay. So with men, there's 3 things for men and women.
3 things. This is we're going to take you home with this.
Very, very critical. So number 1, for a masculine energy, for a man, we don't want to feel criticized. And I know for a lot of women, you don't mean to be critical. You feel like you just, if you just did a little bit more of this, oh, he'd be perfect. He'd be great. But men just have this need to stop, right? So we get very irritated on criticism. And I know it's your best intention, but when it would be a woman and woman, you guys tell each other all the time, oh, no, just do this, and you give advice, right? For men, no criticism, okay? The next thing is we can't feel controlled. I know that's 3rd on the list technically, but I'm just saying next. We don't want to feel controlled because masculine energy has a need for freedom. We need, like, masculine energy is strictly about breaking through and just feeling the emptiness and the nothingness. We want to feel
and
that
so
freedom.
This is where if you've got trust issues, you need to work on those, right?
Yeah. I'm the 3rd one slipped my mind for a moment there. You want to say it?
Shut down, close down.
Yes. And that's the other thing. Just like I was saying with the women, the example a minute ago, when you guys close off, and I understand sometimes, your spouse does something, your man does something, and it might remind you of the last relationship where you might have been abused or hurt or something like that. Or just in general, your nature is to protect yourself by what he's doing. But when you close off to a man, they don't know what to do.
And it sounds like this, ladies. It sounds like I'm fine. That's you're closed down if you say I'm fine because you're not. So
and you know what, to be fair, this is where the feminine masculine communication comes in. I know that that's like a test to show me, like, show me you care, show me, break through to me and show me that you love me. But masculine energy, literally me, the only reason I know any of this stuff is because I studied it like a freaking madman. But we don't know. We have no idea that that's what the call is. We think, they're saying,
oh, you're fine. Okay, great.
Yeah, we think, they say, women, you say, leave me alone, and you go walk away. We're like, oh, well, I'll leave her alone. But it's a loving response. We're genuinely going, okay, I want to let her calm down. I want to give her a space. We don't know that we're supposed to say, no, it's you and I, baby. I'm here for you no matter. We don't know that.
Come on. Keep probing. So, I know you're not. I know you're not.
Yeah, and so
then that breaks them down. It's true. Then they're like, okay, fine, yes. Like last week, you just left your socks on the floor. I know it's more than that, but whatever, right?
So no criticism, no shutting down to him, like no closing off, and no controlling him. And I know you're like, well, what else is there? Because I know it feels like you need to control, because part of me wants to control him to know that you're safe. But if you end up controlling him, you'll lose respect for him. But we could go on this for hours.
Yeah, so and all you ladies are like, well, what about me? And I'm like, yes. So, for us, it's important that you feel seen.
Absolutely.
Right? So acknowledged, admired, accepted. So that's important for us. So we need to be seen, right? We need to feel understood. And so this is where you need to, sometimes, and Tyler was saying, men are just like, get to the point because they just want to fix our problems, right?
And we don't realize don't want to be fixed. Yeah.
But we just want to be heard, right?
Yeah,
and so, it's important that we feel understood. So, in terms of checking with your relationship, do you feel really understood? And then is whether or not we feel safe, right? So if we feel unsafe, that's a huge problem. So for men out there, make sure your woman is feeling seen, make sure she's feeling understood, and make sure she's feeling safe.
And I want to give, and absolutely. And I want to give a couple ways, because men are dumb. We're dumb. Men, come on, make some noise, men out there. We're dumb. We have no idea about this.
Of all the lists, there's way more for women to do than men, for sure.
And what I want men to know is, like, it's not the hardest job in the world. I want to explain to you guys, because I know there'll be some women who go, oh my God, you guys gotta watch this. So to the men who are watching this, I want you to know, to make a woman feel seen, in the beginning, you would say, oh, I like those earrings. Oh, I like those shoes. I like that top on you. It looks really, you'd see her, you acknowledge her. You let her know, oh my God, I like your hair. What did you do with it? She will feel, oh my God, right? It's a beautiful thing. That will bring she's smiling right now because she knows it's true, right? And any other women listening, I'm sure they're like, yes,
finally, you noticed. Yeah, don't say that after he does.
Yeah. Oh, you reminded me. That is the last thing I want to mention. So I'm going to try to remember that, because you don't know what it is I'm going to mention. So that's, men, that's how you make your ladies feel seen, but genuinely acknowledge. Don't just be like, oh, I like your hair. Actually notice and appreciate her. Show her what it is. Secondly, feeling misunderstood. This is where you have to remember, when she comes home from work, for example, or from wherever, and she's telling you so many things and you can't find the point, remember this. And ladies, don't get defensive. Let's be honest here. Your what we call meta reports don't usually have a point. You just want to share, and that's great. It's in your DNA to do that, to be able to survive. But back to point, for men, just hear her out, connect with her, and understand how she is feeling. She does not need shit fixed. Unless she asks, she does not need shit fixed. The thirdly, to feel safe. Men, if you've cheated or you've done something, including just not fully share, that breaks her mistrust a little bit, because any woman would have shared with her. Why are you saying, yeah, work was good? Are you hiding something? No. I know you're not hiding anything, but she doesn't know that. You have to, show emotion, show a little bit of emotion, get more than 2 words out, try to make it to 4 words, try to make it to a bit of a conversation, and she'll feel heard, she'll feel safe, and she'll feel understood. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, because you reminded me, which is so good, for men and women, ladies and gentlemen, all the aliens out there, remember, when your spouse does the thing you wanted them to do, do not, men and women, do not go, finally, your husband calls you an hour late. Don't go, well, fucking finally you called me. No. Reward his ass or reward her ass the moment they do the thing you wanted them to do. Because we're always training each other. If he calls you an hour late and he got busy or whatever, and you go, what, blah, 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 and you just like unleash, he's gonna go, holy shit. We always move towards pleasure and away from pain, every human being. So if we get pain for doing the exact thing you wanted us to do, we're gonna do a little less of that. And then you're gonna wonder, well, why doesn't he know I want that? No, we don't, because you gave us pain. It's the same way. You wouldn't, if you're teaching your baby to go to the bathroom and they make it 2 feet the first time, you wouldn't beat them into the ground, right? You'd say, hey, you got 2 feet. Now let's make it 4 feet next time. You reward them.
Allow, receive what you want. Yeah. Even if you have to tell them 500 times and when they finally do it, be like, oh, thank you. They heard me finally.
Just
feeling heard.
And you have 6 different ways to reward them. Those 6 needs are your way. Make them feel significant. Make them feel, kiss them like passionately. You go, well, why would I kiss him passionately for finally picking up his socks? Because he did the thing you wanted him to do.
Yeah.
So we're always training each other, and most of us are training each other to go separate ways. You got to stack the good.
Be careful what you wish for, because you may just get it. And when you get it, you have to receive it. You have to be grateful, right? Like, you're not searching for solutions. You're not watching this video all the way into this 54th minute because for nothing. So it might be a little bit difficult. You might have to make the first step, even though you've done a million steps before this. But if your relationship is worth saving, it's worth trying. You can't ever try enough if it's that important to you, because on the 10th time, 100th time, 1000th time, you're going to get it. You will get it.
And
what I love, go ahead with the 2 rules.
2 rules. There's seven skills and 10 disciplines. I'm not going to explain them all right now. We're getting to the end, but 2 things I do want to leave you guys with everybody watching, is the two number one things I would say are most important for our spouse, whether you're a man or woman watching this, is that number one, your spouse must come first, because if not, their deepest fear of not being enough is going to come in, and they're going to go find another way to be enough. It's human nature. I understand. And actually, when when Lori asks me in a moment when we get off here, where you can find me, I'm actually going to give you my cell phone number as well. You can literally text me and I'll answer any of your questions. So before I go back to that, the second thing is always attribute good, like positive intentions to what your spouse does. You go, why would I attribute good intentions to him cheating? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying find it within yourself to do that. Go, okay, what need could he be searching for that he doesn't feel? Does he not feel he's enough maybe? Maybe I've been spending too much time with the children. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's enough. Maybe he just needs more variety. Oh my God, we've been doing nothing lately because we've been stuck inside. I don't know. But whatever it is, we have to put them first and attribute positive intentions.
Yes. And you know what? So I did finally see some comments here. They just kind of all popped up. So thank you everyone for watching, and hi. 5 love languages is awesome. Married 30 years. We know the differences. Tyler. So my husband's name is Tyler. So this is not Tyler, my husband. If you guys were all wondering, oh, she just brought her husband in and they're doing, no, Tyler's like full legit. And, but even my husband said, good job guys. So he's watching, saying, probably getting his own little tips, right, babe?
Yeah, I got you, brother.
Yeah, that's right.
So one of the things I want to close off with here is that whenever people come see me, they tell the one-sided story, and this is where things get really, really hard to understand. Or not, it's not hard to understand, it's actually very simple, but we almost don't want to understand because it triggers that deepest fear. I keep saying that because, guys, that is so important. Those fears to remember, the only reason someone's doing something is to try to be enough to be loved. But we tend to generalize. We go, he or she is always like this. They don't show me love. They blah, 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 blah. We always tend to show a one-sided story. He or she did this, did that, whatever. But we generalize. Does he only ever do ABC, or does he sometimes show you love? And you really think about it, you realize, okay, wait. Sometimes he does. It just doesn't come through properly. Number 2, we delete shit. Because it doesn't fit into our needs or our model of the world. Now I'm going psyche, but you guys will kind of understand. Because it doesn't fit into how we want to see the world, we delete the fact that it ever happened and we create a blind spot. We go, oh, someone ever remind you of something? And you go, shit, I did do that, didn't I? Not when you're drunk. I mean, other times. So you go, shit, I did do that. That's because people delete stuff. Our nervous system deletes stuff. The last thing is we distort stuff. We see something happen, we hear something, and we kind of distort the way it happened to fit our model of the world, because we all have to survive. We're always deleting, we're always generalizing, and we're always distorting, which means changing how the story is. So whenever someone comes in and says, Tyler, can you help me change my woman or man? I'm like, how about we help you guys change together and get better together? Because you can't control what he or she does, but you can influence them if you begin to understand them.
Beautiful. You know what? Thank you so much, Tyler, for taking time on your beautiful summer, right, to talk with us and to give us another side and perspective to really, help understand people what they need to do moving forward to have an amazing relationship. Even though we talked about cheating, really, we gave you guys some phenomenal tips and tools on how to strengthen your relationships where they're at right now. You don't have to let things get so bad that they end up, in that situation. And so, so thanks again, Tyler. And again, so Tyler's going to put his information, or he's going to give it to me, because Tyler, or I should just let you in the group, so then you can just share it all. Sure, right. Yeah. So if you guys want to reach out to Tyler,
if you guys are watching, just for whoever's on the live right now, you can text me any relationship questions that you have. I'll answer them right on my personal phone, which, by the way, my teacher is my background, Tony Robbins. I fucking love him. But anyway, if you want to message me right away, you can. So my number's 323-423-0300. Facebook is Tyler Charlebois. Instagram is Tyler.Charlebois. All very easy to remember.
Perfect. So thanks again, Tyler. And thank you guys for watching and taking the time with us. And so